Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 906 of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Hopefully no power outages on this edition of NoDQ&A video. Got your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift using the hashtag RoadToNoDQ1000. Let's get started with the first one today, which comes from Dominic Barca. Hey Aaron, what are your thoughts on WWE not planning for Undertaker versus John Cena at WrestleMania this year? I really hope that those reports are false and that WWE will in fact go with Undertaker versus Cena. To me, that is the match to do for this year's WrestleMania, but maybe WWE has a different plan for this year's WrestleMania. I hope they have something big. If they're not doing Undertaker versus Cena, I hope WWE has something really good for both guys at this year's WrestleMania, and I'm hoping that WWE will do Undertaker and Cena at WrestleMania 34. If not this year, then I really hope WWE will do it next year. I mean, not doing Undertaker versus Cena, it's not as bad as not doing Hogan versus Flair or not doing Shawn Michaels versus The Rock, but to me this would be a pretty big deal if WWE did not do Undertaker versus John Cena at WrestleMania. It would be a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. So I'm hoping those reports are not true. Unless WWE has something really special for both guys in different matches at WrestleMania. Got this one here from the No DQ guy. Who else can face Undertaker at WrestleMania if plans between him and Cena are rumored to have been nixed? There are a few guys, one of those guys being Braun Strowman, which is a name I've heard rumored, and I really hope that's not the case. To me, Undertaker versus Strowman seems really underwhelming. I think if Strowman is going to have a big WrestleMania match, I would just go with Strowman versus Roman Reigns and put that in the mid-card for the U.S. title, although the U.S. title isn't a factor anymore with Roman Reigns. But that's what I would have done. I would have done Reigns versus Strowman in a U.S. title match at WrestleMania and have Reigns beat Strowman, conquer the Beast, whatever, and that would have been the end of it. I think that that would have been fine. But doing Strowman versus Undertaker, I don't know. I mean, I really feel that that's a waste of Undertaker at WrestleMania. Undertaker hasn't exactly done really well with big guys at WrestleMania. You look at those matches from the 90s with King Kong Bundy and Giant Gonzalez and Big Boss Man, and then the match against Big Show and Nathan Jones, Mark Henry, and the list goes on. Undertaker is at this point of his career where I think he needs to be carried, and Strowman, he has improved, that is true, but I do not think that it would be a really solid match. I think it would be okay, but I want to see more from Undertaker. If he's only got a couple of WrestleMania matches left, I say go for the home run. Go for the biggest match possible. And if not Strowman, if not John Cena, I think that a match with AJ Styles would be very solid for WrestleMania. Maybe that's what WWE is planning. Either that or Undertaker versus Roman Reigns. But again, as I've said in previous videos, if Undertaker is facing Reigns, I think you need to go with the Reigns heel turn. Having Reigns as a babyface against Undertaker, it's not going to work at WrestleMania. And I'm not sure what WWE would expect at WrestleMania. They're still editing segments on Raw to show fans being upset when Reigns lost the U.S. title instead of cheering, which is what they were originally doing, which was kind of funny. So WWE still wants people to cheer for Roman Reigns. That's very clear. So why would they book Undertaker versus Reigns? That would be really perplexing unless Reigns is actually going to turn heel and end the Undertaker's career, which would be something else. That would be quite amazing, quite fascinating if Reigns turned heel and ended the Undertaker's entire WWE career. I mean, that would make him the #1 heel, no doubt. This next one comes from Scott Hill. How would you rank the Undertaker's WrestleMania promos? Or just the Undertaker's promos. I got WrestleMania on the brain here. I would say The Undertaker was a very good promo. I would not put him in the best of the best when it comes to promos. I would not put him in the top 5. I might not even put him in the top 10, but he was very solid over the years. It was more about the character that made Undertaker special. The character was something totally unique and stood out from everything else. And he did a very good job portraying the character, playing the role. It was done very well. But as far as just the actual promos and the talking abilities, I mean, Undertaker did a good job over the years. No question about that. But I felt that he wasn't like at a Ric Flair level or a Rock level or a Roddy Piper level, but certainly he was one of the better ones over the years. This one comes from Owen Tillett. If Shane McMahon competes at WrestleMania, who should be his opponent? To me, I'm not really all that crazy about Shane McMahon doing a match at WrestleMania, especially this year when you have most of the roster healthy. We all remember last year there were so many guys injured, and that was a factor in WWE bringing back Shane McMahon to do a big match with Undertaker at WrestleMania, because so many guys were hurt and WWE had to change WrestleMania plans as a result of that. This year, you have almost everybody who's a star in WWE healthy, and it looks like you're going to have a packed roster for WrestleMania, which is a big difference from last year's WrestleMania. To me, you don't need Shane McMahon taking up one of those precious spots at WrestleMania. So if it was me, I would not put Shane McMahon in a match at WrestleMania. We saw something on SmackDown with AJ Styles and Shane McMahon having a little bit of a confrontation. I guess if Shane was going to have a match, AJ Styles would be a good opponent. But again, is that really a big enough match for AJ? Some would say yes, because it's against the McMahon, and WWE would make a big deal out of it because it's a McMahon. But I don't know. I mean, I would prefer somebody other than Shane having a big match at WrestleMania and use that spot for somebody who could get lost in the shuffle otherwise. This one comes from SmartMark99. From how much Cena and Styles exhausted the crowd at SummerSlam, where would you place their match on the card at the Royal Rumble? I would put it next to last. I would put it right before the Royal Rumble. I do not think that the two of them having a tremendous, epic match right before the Royal Rumble would hurt the heat for the Royal Rumble. The Rumble will get a good reaction regardless. I do not think that the heat would be dead for the Rumble because Cena and AJ just did everything possible that they could do in a match and just completely overwhelm the crowd. I still think the Rumble match would have a good amount of heat. So I'm not too concerned about that. I suppose they could put it before a filler match, do Cena versus Styles, and then a filler match, and then do the Royal Rumble. But I think they would be just fine putting Cena and Styles right before the Rumble match itself. I think that would go over just fine, and it would not hurt the crowd heat too much for the Rumble match. Got this one here from Deadpool, James Herrera. What has been your favorite all-time Royal Rumble pay-per-view show from beginning to end? My all-time favorite match is from '92 when Ric Flair won. But if we're talking about the entire pay-per-view from start to finish, my favorite Royal Rumble is 2000. To me, that was probably the most solid card, and it was the other matches besides the Royal Rumble match that really stole the show. You had Taz making his debut against Kurt Angle, which was one of the more memorable debuts in WWE history. You had the Dudleys versus the Hardys, their crazy-ass brawl. You had Cactus Jack versus Triple H, one of the best hardcore matches in WWE history, street fight matches. And then the Rumble itself was very entertaining, despite the fact that the finish was botched with The Rock's feet hitting the floor, and then WWE had to do that angle where Big Show complained and got another match with The Rock. But beyond that, that Rumble was very entertaining. Pretty much every match. And then, of course, we had the infamous Mae Young incident, but, I mean, it's still memorable. That pay-per-view was very memorable and very fun to watch from start to finish. Never boring. So I'd have to go with the 2000 Rumble as my personal favorite of the bunch. Got this one here from Andre. Who do you think will be the number 1 and number 2 entrants in the Royal Rumble? Personally, I think it will be Seth Rollins and The Miz. That's a good prediction right there. I would like to see somebody who is going to be pushed in the future have a strong showing in the Royal Rumble by being the number 1 or number 2 entrant. I mean, that's how you can get somebody over in the Rumble without them actually winning it. Somebody coming in at number 1 and lasting almost to the very end. Seth Rollins is definitely a guy that could pull that off. The Miz would be another guy. Started off with Raw versus SmackDown. That's a great choice right there. You know, Sami Zayn would be another guy I would like to see maybe number 1 or number 2 and last pretty much the whole match. But I think it's more likely somebody like Seth Rollins. Although you could put Rollins in at like number 3 or 4. And, you know, I think we all know Triple H is probably going to cost Rollins the Royal Rumble. So really it doesn't matter when you put Rollins in because he'll likely get screwed anyways. So I would like to see somebody like Sami Zayn, maybe Zayn versus The Miz to kick off the Rumble, I think would be really solid. This one comes from James Cowell. Do you think WWE should rebrand Bayley? She seems a bit boring and what worked in NXT doesn't seem to be working now. I think it's too soon to say. You know, they're trying to make Bayley the female version of Daniel Bryan in this storyline with Charlotte. And I thought it was a strong segment on Raw. I thought Charlotte did a really good job. And I liked when they were showing all the clips of Bayley as a fan. I think it will work in the long run. I think we need to give it time and see how the fans react at the Royal Rumble. I think she'll get a good reaction at the Rumble. And if she doesn't, then it's a sign that something's not working and they need to change things up. But it worked for the Hardy Boys because the Hardy Boys were like the fans. The fans could identify with the Hardys. They were just like everyone else. They did the backyard wrestling and you could put yourself in their shoes and you could see things from their perspective. And I think that's the same thing with Bayley. And I do think it will work in the long run. We just need to give the storyline a chance to develop. So to me, it's too soon to scrap things with Bayley and start from scratch with a new gimmick. This one comes from Ryan. Is it just me or has the women's division gotten stale really fast since the feud between Charlotte and Sasha Banks ended? I would say to a degree. I mean, the biggest problem is that it's just been the same group of women every single week. It feels like SmackDown has a bit more momentum, and I think the storylines on SmackDown have been a little bit more compelling with the women. With Charlotte and Sasha, it was just about them being the best and trading title wins back and forth, and there wasn't much of a storyline. It seems like WWE's starting to get some sort of storyline going with Sasha and Nia Jax, and of course, as I just mentioned, the Charlotte and Bayley storyline. They got that going now, and that's starting to develop, so maybe things will improve. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say SmackDown has done a better job of developing storylines with the women. Carmella has her storyline with James Ellsworth. You have Nikki and Natalya with their storyline, and you have Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, and now you have Mickie James added to the mix. It just feels like there's more going on with the SmackDown women than on Raw. But, you know, things might change now. It looks like we're starting to see some new stories develop. This one comes from Master at Deleting. What did you think of Drew Galloway in WWE when he was Vince's chosen one, and why did they drop the ball on him? I've answered this question over the years a couple of times, but I'll go ahead and talk about it again. I mean, to me, Drew McIntyre had a good gimmick, and around the time he was doing the feud with Teddy Long, I thought he was really at his peak. I think what hurt him was the stuff that happened with his wife at the time, Tiffany, who was the SmackDown, or not SmackDown, what was it, ECW general manager or something like that. You know, they were a real life couple and they had some sort of domestic incident, and Drew pretty much lost his push after that. So I do feel that might have hurt him rather than him just not connecting with the audience. I'm hoping that one day he will get another shot in WWE. I don't know if he was ever going to be a top guy in WWE, but I do feel that he had his momentum killed off because of stuff that happened in his personal life, which is unfortunate for him. He really did not get to reach his full potential in WWE, in my opinion. This one comes from Colin Andrew. How do you feel on the latest Perry Saturn video? Sad to see him take such a turn. I agree, that video was hard to watch, and I feel really bad for the guy. I mean, that's what happens when you live the wrestler lifestyle. A lot of these guys, they put the pedal to the metal. They live life in the fast lane. They're taking a lot of physical punishment every night. Their bodies are hurting. They take painkillers. They drink alcohol, and they try to deal with the pain. And these guys break down. And once their career is over after 10, 15 years, what do they do from there? These guys only know wrestling. A lot of them only know wrestling. Sometimes you have guys that went to college and have backup plans, but unfortunately, you have a situation quite often where a lot of guys don't have backup plans, and once their bodies break down on them, they have no source of income, and things can get really bad. So it sucks for Saturn, but he's not the only wrestler in this type of situation. Some feel that WWE should step in more and try to help these guys that have fallen on hard times. Maybe there is something that can be done, and you know, it's good that other wrestlers are stepping up and helping. I know Chris Jericho's helping, and other wrestlers are chipping in and looking out for their friends and their colleagues, which is really cool. It just shows that these guys have a strong bond working together. And hopefully in the future, I hope WWE is doing something where they're training their talent, maybe besides wrestling and all that, just helping them with money management and just taking care of themselves and just being able to prepare for life after wrestling. You know, these guys that are in the wrestling business, they really need to think about the future because their bodies are not going to hold up forever, and at some point, you know, they got to save their money, they got to be smart with their money, and learn from mistakes that past stars have made. Got this one here from Dakota Hallman. Hey Aaron, why is Honky Tonk Man not in the WWE Hall of Fame? I think he deserves it more than anybody. Well, he was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, but I think one of the reasons that he's not in the Hall of Fame is due to how outspoken he's been over the years. I mean, he's definitely been one of those guys that says what's on his mind, and sometimes he can be controversial. And let's face it, the Hall of Fame, part of it is politics, and if you're not on the best terms with the company, that is going to put you down the list of guys to go into the Hall of Fame. We have seen Honky Tonk Man show up on WWE programming every now and then, but it's been a while. It's been several years. I think the last time I can remember him being on WWE TV, he might have been on more recently, but the last time I remember him being on was with Santino Marella and the Honka-meter, so that was, 2008? That's the last time I remember him being on WWE TV. So I'm hoping they'll work something out with him. I mean, he was the longest IC champion, and he had a memorable gimmick, and you know, people remember the guy fondly. So, you know, why not put him in the Hall of Fame? I do feel politics might be playing a role in it, though. This one comes from Daniel Lynch. Hey Aaron, what do you think is the best World Championship win? I think it's Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 20. Hard to argue that moment with him and Eddie Guerrero embracing and holding up their titles together was a classic WrestleMania moment. Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania 30, another great moment. Steve Austin winning at WrestleMania 14. Jim Ross proclaiming that the Austin era had begun. You know, that was huge. And then going back, Hulk Hogan beating Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 to retain the title. Randy Savage winning at WrestleMania 4. So there have been a lot of great memories. And of course, Shawn Michaels. How can you forget Shawn Michaels with the boyhood dream coming true at WrestleMania 12, beating Bret Hart? You know, that was another great moment. So there have been quite a few over the years, definitely. That'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend on Facebook or Twitter. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And let's not forget about NXT TakeOver San Antonio. NoDQ will have coverage of that as well. I'll have the predictions video coming up very soon here on the YouTube channel at NoDQ.com. Stay tuned for all that, and I will see you guys next time.